Introduction to Prometheus Bound. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Persons of the Drama. Prometheus.
Read by Greg Giordano.
Oceanus.
Read by Beeswax Candle.
Hermes. Read by Alan Mapstone. Hephaestus.
Read by L.G. Pug.
Io, daughter of Inachus.
Read by Inkel.
Strength and Force.
Read by Larry Wilson.
Chorus of Ocean Nymphs.
Read by Agnes Robert Bear.
Narration read by Alan Mapstone. End of introduction. Part 1 of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Scene: Strength and Force, Hephaestus and Prometheus at the rocks.
We reach the utmost limit of the earth, the Scythian track, the desert without man. And now, Hephaestus, thou must needs fulfill the mandate of our father, and with links indissoluble of adamantine chains, fasten against this beetling precipice this guilty god. Because he filched away thine own bright flower, the glory of plastic fire, and gifted mortals with it. Such a sin it doth behoove he expiate to the gods, and learn free service to the rule of Zeus, and leave disused his trick of loving man.
Oh, strength and force, for you, as Zeus's will, presents a deed for doing, no more. But I lack your daring, up this storm-rent chasm to fix with violent hands a kindred god, howbeit necessity compels me so, that I must dare it, and now Zeus commands, with word as heavy as bolts, inevitable. Ho! Lofty son of Themis, who is sage, thee loth, I loth must rivet fast in chains against this rocky height unclomb by man, where never human voice nor face shall find out thee who lov'st them, where thy beauty's flower, scorched in the sun's clear heat, shall fade away. Night shall come up with garniture of stars to comfort thee with shadow, and the sun disperse with retricked beams the morning frosts, and through all changes sense of present woe shall vex thee sore, because with none of them there comes a hand to free. Such fruit is plucked from love of man. For in that thou, a god, didst brave the wrath of gods, and give away undue respect to mortals, for that crime thou art adjudged to guard this joyless rock, erect, unslumbering, bending not the knee, and many a cry and unavailing moan to utter on the air. For Zeus is stern, and new-made kings are cruel.
Be it so. Why loiter in vain pity? Why not hate a god the gods hate, one too who betrayed thy glory unto men?
An awful thing is kinship joined to friendship.
Grant it be. Is disobedience to the Father's word a possible thing? Does quail not more for that?
Thou, at least, art a stern one, ever bold.
Why, if I wept, it were no remedy. And do not thou spend labour on the air to bootless uses.
Cursed handicraft! I curse and hate thee, O my craft!
Why hate thy craft, most plainly innocent of all these pending ills?
Would some other hand were here to work it,
All work hath its pain, except to rule the gods. There is none free, except King Zeus.
I know it very well. I argue not against it.
Why not then make haste, and bind the fetters over him, lest Zeus behold thee lagging?
Here be chains. Zeus may behold these.
Seize him, strike amain, strike with the hammer on each side his spans, rivet him to the rock.
The work is done, and thoroughly done.
Oh, still faster grapple him, wedge him in deeper, leave no inch to stir. He's terrible for finding a way out where others could not.
Here's an arm at least, grappled past freeing.
Now then, clinch along the other strongly. Let the sophist learn he's duller than our Zeus.
Oh, none but he accused me justly.
Now, straight through the chest, take him and bite him with the clinching tooth of the adamantine wedge, and rivet him.
Alas, Prometheus, what thou sufferest here, I sorrow over.
Dost thou shrink again, and breathe groans for the enemies of Zeus? Beware lest thine own pity find thee out.
Thou dost behold a spectacle that turns the sight of the eyes to pity.
I behold a sinner suffer his sin's penalty, but lash the thongs about his sides.
So much I must do. Urge no farther than I must.
Ay, but I will urge, and with shout on shout will hound thee at this quarry. Get thee down and wring amain the iron round his legs.
That work was not long doing.
Heavily now let fall the strokes upon the performed gyves, for he who rates the work has a heavy hand.
Thy speech is savage as thy shape.
Be thou gentle and tender, but revile not me for the firm will and the untruckling hate.
Let us go. He is nested round with chains.
Hear now, Tauntaun, and having spoiled the gods of honours, crown with all thy mortal men who live a whole day out. Why, how could they draw off from thee one single of thy griefs? Methinks the demons gave thee a wrong name, Prometheus, which means providence, because thou dost thyself require a providence to escape the crushing of this rolling doom.
End of part 1. Part 2 of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Prometheus alone.
O holy ether, and swift winged winds, and river wells, and laughter infinite of yon sea waves! Earth, mother of us all, and all-viewing cyclic sun, I cry on you. Behold me a god, what I endure from gods. Behold, with throe on throe, how wasted by this woe I wrestle down the myriad years of time. Behold, how fast around me the new king of the happy ones sublime has flung the chain he forged, has shamed and bound me. Woe, woe, today's woe and the coming morrow's I cover with one groan. And where is found me a limit to these sorrows? And yet what word do I say? I have foreknown clearly all things that should be. Nothing done comes sudden to my soul, and I must bear what is ordained with patience, being aware necessity doth front the universe with an invincible gesture. Yet this curse, what strikes me now, I find it hard to brave in silence or in speech, because I gave honor to mortals, I have yoked my soul to this compelling fate, because I stole the secret font of fire, whose bubbles went over the ferrule's brim, and manward sent art's mighty means and perfect rudiment. That sin I expiate in this agony, hung here in fetters, 'neath the blanching sky. Ah, ah me! What a sound! What a fragrance sweeps up from a pinion unseen, of a god or a mortal, or nature between, sweeping up to this rock where the earth has her bound, to have sight of my pangs, or some guerdon obtain. Lo, a god in the anguish, a god in the chain. The god Zeus hateth sore, and his gods hate again, as many as tread on his glorified floor, because I loved mortals too much evermore. Alas me, what a murmur and motion I hear, as of birds flying near, and the air undersings the soft stroke of their wings, and all life that approaches I wait for in fear.
Chorus of Sea Nymphs. First strophe.
Fear nothing. Our troop floats lovingly up, with a quick oaring stroke of wings steered to the rock, having softened the soul of our father below. For the gales of swift bearing have set me a sound, and the clank of the iron, the malleted blow, smote down the profound of my caverns of old, and struck the red light in a blush from my brow, till I sprang up unsandaled, in haste to behold, and rushed forth on my chariot of wings manifold.
Alas me, ye offspring of Tethys, who bore at her breast many children, and eke of Oceanus, he who coils around earth with perpetual unrest. Behold me and see how transfixed with the fang of a fetter I hang on the high jutting rocks of this fissure, and keep an uncoveted watch o'er the world and the deep.
Chorus. First antistrophe.
I behold thee, Prometheus. Yet now, a terrible cloud whose rain is tears sweeps over mine eyes, that witness how thy body appears, hung a waste on the rocks by infrangible chains. For new is the hand and the rudder that steers the ship of Olympus through surge and wind, and of old things past no track is behind.
Under earth, under Hades, where the home of the shade is, all into the deep, deep Tartarus, I would he had hurled me adown. I would he had plunged me, fastened thus in the knotted chain, with a savage clang, all into the dark, where there should be none, neither God nor another, to laugh and see. And now the winds sing through and shake the hurtled chains wherein I hang, and I, in my naked sorrows, make much mirth for my enemy.
Chorus. Second strophe.
Nay, who of the gods hath a heart so stern as to use thy woe for a root of mirth? Who would not turn more mild to learn thy sorrows? Who of the heaven and earth, save Zeus? But he, right wrathfully, bears on his sceptral soul unbent, and rules thereby the heavenly seed, nor will he cease till he content his thirsty heart in a finished deed or till another shall appear, to win by fraud, to seize by fear, the hardly captured government.
Yet even of me he shall have need, that monarch of the blessed seed. Of me, who now am cursed beneath his fetters dire, to wring my secret out withal, and learn by whom his sceptre shall be filched from him, as was at first his heavenly fire. Yet he never shall enchant me with his honey-lipped persuasion. Never, never shall he daunt me with the oath and threat of passion, into speaking as they want me, till he loose this savage chain, and accept the expiation of my sorrow by his pain.
Chorus. Second antistrophe.
Thou art sooth a brave god, and for all thou hast borne from the stroke of the rod, not relaxest from scorn. But thou speakest unto me too free and unwarned, and a terror strikes through me, and festers my soul, and I fear in the roll of the storm for thy fate, in the ship far from shore, since the son of Saturnius is hard in his hate, and unmoved in his heart evermore.
I know that Zeus is stern. I know he meets his justice by his will. And yet I also know his soul shall learn more softness when once broken by this ill, that curbing his unconquerable wrath, he shall rush on in fear to meet with me, who rush to meet with him in agony, to issues of a harmonious covenant.
Remove the veil from all things, and relate the story to us. Of what crime accused? Zeus smites thee with dishonorable pangs. Speak, if to teach us, do not grieve thyself.
The utterance of those things is torture to me, but so, too, is their silence. Each way lies woe strong as fate. When gods began with wrath, and war rose up between their starry brows, some choosing to cast Kronos from his throne, that Zeus might king it there, and some in haste, with opposite oaths, that they would have no Zeus to rule the gods forever. I, who brought the counsel I thought meetest, could not move the Titans, children of the heaven and earth, because, disdaining in their rugged souls my subtle machinations, they assumed it was an easy thing for force to take the mastery of fate. My mother, then, who is called not only Themis, but Earth too, her single beauty joys in many names, did teach me with reiterant prophecy what future should be, and how conquering gods should not prevail by strength and violence, but by guile only. When I told them so, they would not deign to contemplate the truth on all sides round, and thus I deemed it best to lead my mother upwards willingly, and set my Themis face to face with Zeus, as willing to receive her. Tartarus, with its abysmal cloister of the dark, because I gave that counsel, covers up the antique Kronos and his siding hosts, and, by that counsel helped, the King of Gods hath recompensed me by these bitter pangs. For kingship wears a cancer at the heart, to have no faith in friends. And then ye ask, what crime it is for which he tortures me. It shall be clear before you. When at first he filled his father's throne, he made direct and various gifts of glory to the gods, and dealt the empire out. Alone of men, of miserable men, he took no count, but yearned to sweep their track off from the world, and plant a newer race there, and was none resisted that desire, except myself. I dared it. I drew mortals back to light, for mediated ruin deep as hell, and for that wrong I bow down in these pangs, dreadful to suffer, mournful to behold, and I, who pitied man, am thought myself unworthy pity, while I render out deep rhythms of anguish 'neath the harping hand that strikes me thus, a sight that shames your Zeus.
Hard as thy chains, and cold as all these rocks, is he Prometheus, who withholds his heart from joining in thy woe. I yearned before to fly this sight, and now I gaze on it, I sicken inwards.
To my friends, indeed, I must be a sad sight.
And didst thou sin no more than so?
I did restrain, besides, my mortals from premeditating death.
How didst thou medicine the plague fear of death?
I set blind hopes to inhabit in their house.
By that gift thou didst help thy mortals well.
I gave them also fire.
And have they now, those creatures of day, the red-eyed fire?
They have, and shall learn by it many arts.
And truly, for such sins Zeus tortures thee, and will relax no anguish, canst behold no limit to thy wrestling agony.
No other, only what seems good to him.
And how will it seem good? What hope remains? Seest thou not thou hast sinned, and that thou hast sinned? It glads me not to speak of, and grieves thee. Then let it pass from both, and seek thyself some outlet from despair.
It is in truth an easy thing to stand aloof from pain, and lavish exhortation and advice on one vexed sorely by it. I have seen all in prevision. By my choice I freely sinned. I will confess my sin, and helping mortals found mine own despair. I did not think indeed that I should pine beneath such pangs against such skiey rocks, doomed to this drear hill, in no neighbouring of any life. But mourn not ye for griefs I bear to-day. Drop rather to the plain, and hear how other woes creep on to me, and learn the consummation of my doom. Beseech you, nymphs, beseech you, grieve for me, who now am grieving. For grief walks the earth, and sits down at the foot of each by turns.
We hear the deep clash of thy words, Prometheus, and obey, and I spring with a rapid foot away from the rushing car and the holy air, the track of birds, and I drop to the rugged ground, and there await the tale of thy despair.
End of part 2. Part 3 of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Enter Oceanus.
I reached the bourne of my weary road, where I could see and answer thee, Prometheus, in thine agony. On the back of the quick-winged bird I glode, and I bridled him in with the will of a god. And know thy sorrow aches in me, constrained by the force of kin. Nay, though that tie were all undone, for the life of none beneath the sun, would I seek a larger benison than I seek for thine. And thou shalt learn my words are truth, that no fair parlance of the mouth grows falsely out of mine. Then give me a deed to prove my faith, for no faster friend is named in breath than I, Oceanus, am thine.
Ha! What has brought thee? Hast thou also come to look upon my woe? How hast thou dared to leave the depths called after thee, the caves self-hewn and self-roofed with spontaneous rock, to visit earth, the mother of my chain? Hast come indeed to view my doom, and mourn that I should sorrow thus? Gaze on, and see how I, the fast friend of your Zeus, how I, the erector of the empire in his hand, am bent beneath that hand in this despair.
Prometheus, I behold, and I would fain exhort thee, though already subtle enough, to a better wisdom. Titan, know thyself, and take new softness to thy manners, since a new king rules the gods. With words like these, harsh words and sharp ones, thou wilt fling abroad, Zeus haply, though he sit so far and high, may hear thee do it. And so this wrath of his, which now affects thee fiercely, shall appear a mere child's sport and vengeance. Wretched God, rather dismiss the passion which thou hast, and seek a change from grief. Perhaps I seem to address thee with old sores and outworn sense. Yet such a curse, Prometheus, waits indeed on lips that speak too proudly. Nevertheless, thou dost not grow the meeker, nor dost yield to evil rule the sooner, yearning still to swell the account of grief with other griefs than what are borne. Beseech thee, use me then for counsel. Do not spurn against the pricks, seeing that who reigns by cruelty, and not by right. And now I go from hence, and will endeavour if a power of mine can break thy fetters through. For thee, be calm, and smooth thy words from passion. Knowest thou not of perfect knowledge, thou who knowest too much, that where the tongue wags, ruin never lags?
I gratulate thee, who hast shared and dared all things with me, except their penalty. But now cease, leave these thoughts. It cannot be that thou shouldst move him, he may not be moved. And thou, beware lest this way thou meet woe.
Ever thou wert more wise for others' use than for thine own. The event, and not the word, attests it to me. Yet where now I rush, thy wisdom hath no power to drag me back, because I glory in this aim, to win for thee deliverance from thy pangs, as a free gift from Zeus.
Why, there again, I give thee gratulation and applause. Thou lackest no good will. But as for deeds, do not. 'Twere all done vainly, helping naught, whatever thou wouldst do. Rather take rest and keep thyself from evil. If I grieve, I do not therefore wish to multiply the griefs of others. Verily, not so, for still my brother's doom doth vex my soul. My brother Atlas, standing in the west, shouldering the column of the heaven and earth, meet burden for a giant. And I have seen, and pitied as I saw, the earth-born one, the habitant of old Cilician caves, the great war monster of the 100 heads, all taken and bowed beneath the violent hand. Typhon the fierce, who did resist the gods, and hissing slaughter from his dreadful jaws, did flash out from his eyes a glory askance, as if to storm the throne of Zeus. But so the sleepless arrow of Zeus flew straight to him, the headlong bolt of thunder breathing flame, and struck him downward from his eminence of boastful exultation. Through the soul it struck him mainly, and his strength was shrunk to ashes, thunder blasted. Now he lies, a helpless trunk supinely, at full length beside the strait of ocean, overridden by roots of Etna, high upon whose tops Hephaestus sits and strikes the flashing oar, from which the great fire rivers shall burst away hereafter, and devour with savage jaws the equal plains of fruitful Sicily. Such passion he shall boil back in hot darts of an insatiate fury and sow of flame. Fallen Typhon, howsoever struck and charred by Zeus's bolted thunder. But for thee, thou art not so unlearned as to need my teaching. Let thy knowledge save thyself. I quaff the full cup of a present doom, and wait till Zeus's soul hath quenched its wrath.
Hast thou no knowledge, then, of this, Prometheus? That words do medicine anger?
If the word with seasonable softness touch the heart, and, where the soul is ulcerous, sear it not with any rudeness.
With a noble aim to dare as nobly, is there harm in that? Dost thou discern it? Teach me.
I discern an empty wish, an unresultive work.
Then let me bear the harm of punishment, since it most profits that the truly wise should seem not wise at all.
And this will seem a crime of mine.
In truth, thine argument sends me back home.
Because thy grief for me might cast thee down to hate.
The hate of him who sits in you king on the general throne?
Beware of him, lest thine heart grieve by him.
Thy doom, Prometheus, be my teacher.
Go, depart, beware, and keep the mind thou hast.
Thy words drive after as I rush before. Lo, my four-footed bird sweeps smooth and wide the flats of air with balanced pinions, glad to bend his knee at home in the ocean's stall.
Exit Oceanus. First strophe.
I moan thy fate. I moan for thee, Prometheus, from my restless eyes, drop by drop intermittently, a trickling stream of tears supplies my cheeks all wet from fountains free, because that Zeus, the sternly bold, whose law is taken from his breast, uplifts his sceptre manifest over the gods of old.
First antistrophe.
All the land is moaning with a murmured plaint today, all the mortal nations, having habitations near the holy Asia, are a dirge intoning for thine honour and thy brothers, once majestic beyond others, in the old belief, now are groaning in the groaning of thy deep-voiced grief.
Second strophe.
Mourn the virgins habitant of the Chalcian land, who with white calm bosoms stand in the battle's roar. Mourn the Scythian tribes that haunt the verge of earth, Maeotis' shore.
Second antistrophe.
And Arabia's battle crown, and the dwellers in the lofty town, Mount Caucasus sublimely nears, an iron squadron thundering down with the sharp proud spears. But one other have I seen to remain by invincible pain, bound and vanquished, one Titan, 'Twas Atlas who bears, in a curse from the gods, by that strength of his own which he evermore wears, the weight of the heaven on his shoulder alone, while he sighs up the stars, and the ocean tides bellow, in bursting their bars. Murmurs stir the profound, and black Hades roars up through the chasm of the ground, and the founts of the pure running rivers moan low in the pathos of woe.
Beseech you, think not I am silent thus through pride or scorn. I only gnaw my heart with meditation, seeing myself so wronged, for so their honours to these new-made gods, what other gave but I, and shared them out with distribution? Ay, but here I am dumb, for here I should repeat your knowledge to you, if I spake aught. List rather to the works I did for mortals, and how, fools before, I made them wise and true in aim of soul. And I will tell you, not as taunting them, but teaching you the intention of my gifts, how, first beholding, they beheld in vain, and hearing, heard not, but, like shapes in dreams, mixed all things wildly down the tedious time, nor knew to build a house against the sun, with wicketed sides, nor any woodwork knew, but lived, like silly ants, beneath the ground in hollow caves unsunned. There came to them no steadfast sign of winter, nor of spring, flower perfumed, nor of autumn, full of fruit, but all things they did blindly and lawlessly, until I taught them how the stars do rise, and set in mystery, and devised for them number, the inducer of philosophies, the synthesis of letters, and beside the artificer of all things, memory, that sweet muse mother. I was first to yoke the servile beasts in couples, carrying an heirdoom of man's burdens on their backs. I joined to chariots steeds that love the bit they champ at, the chief pomp of golden ease. And no one else but I achieved, beside, the seamen's chariots, wandering on the brine with linen wings. And I, oh miserable, who did devise for mortals all these arts, have no device left now to save myself from the woe I suffer.
Very shameful woe thou sufferest, and dost stagger from the sense, bewildered, like a bad leech falling sick. Thou art faint at heart, and canst not find the drugs required to save thyself.
Hearken the rest, and marvel further, what more arts and means I did invent. This greatest, if a man fell sick, there was no cure, no esculent, nor chrism, nor liquid, but for lack of drugs men pined and wasted, till I showed to them those mixtures of emollient remedies, whereby they might be rescued from disease. I fixed the various rules of mantic art, discerned the vision from the common dream, and made them wise in vocal auguries, hard to interpret, and defined as plain the wayside omens, flights of crook-clawed birds, showed which are, by their nature, fortunate, and which not so, and what the food of each, and what the hates, affections, social needs of all to one another, and what sign of visceral lightness, colored to a shade, may charm the genial gods, and what fair spots commend the lung and liver, burning so, the limbs encased in fat, and the long chine I led my mortals on to an art abstruse, and cleared their eyes to the image in the fire, erst filmed in dark. Enough said now of this. And for those helps of man hid underground, the iron and the brass, silver and gold, can any dare say that he found them out before me? None, I know, unless he choose to vaunt a vain lie. Learn the whole in brief, that all arts came to mortals from Prometheus.
Give mortals no unseasonable help, neglecting thine own sorrow, since for me, I have hoped to see thee break these fetters still, and stand up strong as Zeus.
This ends not thus. The oracular fate ordains I must be bowed by infinite woes and pangs to escape this chain. Necessity is stronger than mine art.
Who holds the helm of that necessity?
The threefold fates and the unforgetting Furies.
Is Zeus less absolute than these are?
Yes, and therefore cannot fly what is ordained.
What is ordained for Zeus, except to be a king forever?
'Tis too early yet for thee to learn it. Ask no more.
Perhaps thy secret may be holy.
Turn thy mind to another matter. This it is not time to speak abroad, but to veil utterly in silence still. For by that secret kept, I 'scape this chain's dishonor and its woe.
Chorus, first strophe.
Never, oh never, may Zeus the All-Giver wrestle down from his throne, in that might of his own, to antagonize mine. Never let me delay to bend on my way to the gods of the shrine, where the altar is full of the blood of the bull, near the tossing brine of ocean my father. Nor my sin, be it sped in the word that is said, but my vow, be it rather consummated, nor evermore fail, nor evermore pine.
First antistrophe.
'Tis sweet to have life lengthened out with hopes that are brave by the very doubt, till the spirit swells bold with the joys foretold. But I thrill to behold thee victim doomed by the countless cares and the drear despairs, lifelong consumed. And all because thou, who art fearless now, with Zeus above, dost overflow from mankind below with a free-souled reverent love. Oh, friend, behold and see, what's all the beauty of humanity? Can it be fair? What's all the strength? Is it strong? And what hope can they bear, these dying livers, living one day long? And seest thou not, my friend, how feeble and slow, and like a dream doth go, this poor blind manhood, drifted from its end, and how no mortal wranglings can confuse the harmony of Zeus?
I have learnt these things from the sorrow in thy face. Another song did drop its wings upon my lips in other days, when round the bath and round the bed, the hymeneal chant instead, I sang for thee and smiled, and thou didst lead with gifts and vows, Hesione, my father's child, to be thy wedded spouse.
End of part 3. Part 4 of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Io enters.
What land is this? What people is here? And who is he who writhes, I see, in the rock-hung chain? Now what is the crime that hath brought thee to pain? And what is the land? Make answer free, which I wander through in my wrong and fear. Ah, ah, ah me! The gadfly stingeth to agony. O earth, keep off that phantasm pale of earth-born Argus. Ah, I quail when my soul descries that herdsman with the myriad eyes, which seem, as he comes, one crafty eye. Graves hide him not, though he should die, but he doggeth me in my misery. From the roots of death, on high, and along the sands of the siding deep, all famine worn, he follows me, and his waxen reed doth undersound the waters round, and giveth a measure that giveth sleep. Woe, woe, woe! Where shall my weary course be done? What wouldst thou with me, Saturn's son? And in what have I sinned, that I should go thus yoked to grief by thine hand for ever? Ah, ah, dost vex me so, that I madden and shiver, stung through with dread, flash the fire down, to burn me, heave the earth up, to cover me, or plunge me in the deep with the salt waves over me, where the sea beasts may be fed. And, O king, do not spurn me in my prayer, for this wandering, ever longer, evermore, hath overworn me, and I know not on what shore I may rest from my despair.
Hearest thou what the ox-horned maiden saith?
How could I choose but hearken what she saith, the frenzied maiden, Enahos's child, who love warms Zeus's heart, and now is lashed by Here's hate along the unending ways.
Who taught thee to articulate that name? My father's? Speak to his child, by grief and shame defiled. Who art thou, victim thou, who dost acclaim mine anguish in true words on the wide air, and callest to my name the curse that came from here unaware, to waste and pierce me with the maddening goad? Ah, I leap with the pang of the hungry, I bound on the road. I am driven by my doom, I am overcome by the wrath of an enemy strong and deep. Are any of those who have tasted pain, alas, as sad as I? Now tell me plain, doth aught remain for my soul to endure beneath the sky? Is there any help to be holpen by? If knowledge be in thee, let it be said. Cry aloud, cry to the wandering, woeful maid.
All thou wouldst learn I will make clear to thee. No riddle upon my lips, but such straight words as friends should use to each other when they talk. Thou seest Prometheus, who gave mortals fire.
O common help of all men, known of all, O miserable Prometheus, for what cause dost thou endure thus?
I have done with wail for my own griefs, but lately.
Wilt thou not vouchsafe this boon to me?
Say which thou wilt, for I vouchsafe all.
Speak then, and reveal who shut thee in this chasm.
The will of Zeus, the hand of his Hephaestus.
And what crime does expiate so?
I have told enough for thee, and so much only.
Nay, but show besides the limit of my wandering, and the time which yet is lacking to fill my grief.
Why, not to know were better than to know, for such as thou.
Beseech thee, blind me not to that which I must suffer.
If I do, the cause is not because I grudge the boon.
What is the cause, then? Mars thy speaking out?
No grudging, but a fear to break thine heart.
Less care for me, I pray thee. Certainty I count for sweetness.
Thou wilt have it so, and therefore I must speak. Now hear.
Not yet. Give half the sweetness my way. Let us learn, first, what the curse is that befell this maid. Her own voice, telling her own wasting woes. For what remains of anguish, let it wait the teaching of thy lips.
It doth behoove that thou, maid Io, should vouchsafe to these the grace they pray, and more, because they are called thy father's sisters. Since to open out and mourn out grief, where it is possible to draw a tear from the audience, is a work that pays its own price well.
I cannot choose, but trust you, nymphs, and tell you all ye ask, in clear words, though I sob amid my speech, in speaking of the storm curse sent from Zeus, and of my beauty, from which height it took its swoop on me, poor wretch, left thus deformed and monstrous to your eyes. For evermore around my virgin chamber wandering went the nightly visions, and entreated me with syllabled smooth sweetness. Blessed maid, why lengthen out the maiden hours, when fate permits the noblest spousal in the world? For Zeus burns with the arrow of thy love, and fain would touch thy beauty, and for thee, girl, spurn not Zeus, but fly to Lerné's mead, that's green around thy father's flocks and stalls, until the passion of the heavenly eye be quenched in sight. Such dreams did, all night long, constrain me unhappy, till I dared to tell my father how they trod the dark with visionary steps, whereat he sent his frequent heralds to the Pythian fane, and also to Dodona, and inquired how best by act or speech to please the gods, and these returning brought back oracles of doubtful sense, indefinite response, dark to interpret. Then at last there came to Inachus an answer that was clear, thrown straight as any bolt, and spoken out, this: he should drive me from my home and land, and bid me wander to the extreme verge of all the earth, or, if he willed it not, should have a thunder with a fiery eye leap straight from Zeus, to burn up all his race to the last root of it, by which Toxean word subdued he drove me forth, and shut me out. He loth, me loth, but Zeus's forceful bit compelled him to the deed, and instantly my body and soul were changed and distraught, and horned as ye see, and spurred along by the fanged insect, with a maniac leap I rushed on to Cenchrea's limpid stream, and Lerné's fountain well, and there the earth-born, the herdsman Argus, most immitigable of wrath, did find me out, and track me out, with countless eyes yet staring at my steps, and unexpected and most sudden doom drew him from life, but I, curse-stricken still, am driven from land to land before the scourge that gods hold o'er me. So thou hast heard the past, and if the bitter future thou canst tell, speak on. I charge thee, do not flatter me through pity with false words, for in my mind deceiving works more shame than torturing.
Hush, silence here. Nevermore, nevermore would I languish for the stranger's word to thrill mine ear. Nevermore for the wrong and the woe and the fear, so hard to behold and so hard to bear, to pierce my soul with a double-edged sword, and a sliding cold. Ah, fate! Ah, me! I shudder to see this wandering maid in her agony.
Grief is too quick in thee, and fear too full. Be patient till thou hast learnt the rest.
Speak, teach. To those who are sad already, it seems sweet, by clear foreknowledge, to make perfect pain.
The boon ye asked me first was lightly won, for first ye asked to hear this maiden's grief, as her own lips might tell it. Now remains to list what other sorrows she so young must bear from here. Enahosh's child, O thou, drop down thy soul my weighty words, and measure thence the landmarks which are set. To end thy wandering toward the orient sun, first turn thy face from mine, and journey on along the desert flats, till thou shalt come where Scythia's shepherd peoples dwell aloft, perched in wheeled wagons under woven roofs, and twang the rapid arrow past the bow. Approach them not, but aiding in thy course the rugged shore rocks sounding from the sea, depart that country. On the left hand dwell the iron workers, called the Chalybes, of whom beware, for certes they are stern, in no wise bland to strangers, reaching so the stream Hubristes, well the scorner called. Attempt no passage, it is hard to pass, or ere thou come to Caucasus itself, the highest of mountains, where the river's strength is jutted from the heights, and thou must climb these mountain tops that neighbor with the stars, and tread the southward way, and near, at last, the Amazonian host that hateth man. Who shall inhabit the Miskra? Close upon Thermodon, where the sea's rough jaw doth gnash at Salmydessus, and provide a cruel host to seamen, and to ships, a step-dame harsh, the same shall lead thee on with unreluctant hand, till thou shalt drive just where the ocean gates show narrowest, on the Cimmerian isthmus, leaving which behooves thee swim with ghostly fortitude that strait Moetus. Ay, and evermore that traverse shall be famous on men's lips, that strait called Bosphorus, the horned one's road, so named because of thee. Thou so wilt pass from Europe's plain to Asia's continent. How think ye, nymphs, the king of gods appears impartial in his violent deeds? For lo, the god desirous of this mortal's love hath cursed her with these wanderings. Ah, fair child, thou hast met a bitter groom for bridal troth, for all thou yet hast heard can only prove the incompleted prelude of thy doom.
Ah! Ah!
Is't thy turn now to shriek and moan? How wilt thou, when thou hast hearkened what remains?
Besides the grief thou hast told, can aught remain?
A sea of foredoomed evil worked to storm.
What boots my life then? Why not cast myself down headlong from this miserable rock that dashed against the flats? I may redeem my soul from sorrow. Better once to die than day by day to suffer.
Verily, it would be hard for thee to bear my woe, for whom it is appointed not to die. For death redeems from woe. And now I see, in all my far prevision, not a bound to all I suffer, ere that Zeus shall fall from being a king.
And can it ever be that Zeus shall fall from empire?
Thou, methinks, would take some joy to see it.
Could I choose, I, who endure such pangs now, by that Zeus?
Learn from me, therefore, that the event shall be.
By whom shall his imperial sceptred hand be emptied so?
Himself shall spoil himself through his imprudent counsels.
How? Declare, unless the word bring evil.
He shall wed, and in the marriage bond be joined to grief.
A heavenly bride, or human? Speak it out, if it be utterable.
Why should I say which? It ought not to be uttered, verily.
Then it is his wife shall tear him from his throne?
It is his wife shall bear a son to him, more mighty than the father.
From this doom hath he no refuge?
None, or ere that I, loosed from these fetters.
Yea, but who shall loose thee while Zeus is adverse?
One who is born of thee. It is ordained so.
What is this thou sayest? A son of mine shall loose thee from thy woe?
After 10 generations, count 3 more, and find him in the 3rd.
The oracle remains obscure.
And search it not to learn thine own griefs from it.
Point me not to a good, to leave me straight bereaved.
I am prepared to grant thee one of 2 things.
But which two? Set them before me. Grant me power to choose.
I grant it. Choose, if I shall name aloud what griefs remain to wound thee, or what hand shall save me out of mine.
Vouchsafe, O God, the one grace of the twain to her who prays, the next to me, and turn back neither prayer, dishonored by denial. Thus to her declare the future wanderings of her feet, then point me to the looser of thy chain, because I yearn to know it.
Since ye will, of absolute will, this knowledge I will set no contrary against it, nor keep back a word of all ye ask for. Io, first, to thee I must recount thy wandering course far winding. As I tell it, write it down in thy soul's book of memories, when thou hast passed the flowing bound that parts two continents. Track on the footsteps of the orient sun, in his own fire, across the roar of seas. Fly till thou hast reached the Gorgonian flats. Beside Sistine, there the Forsydes, three ancient maidens, live with shape of swan, one tooth between them and a common eye, on whom the sun doth never look at all, with all his rays, nor evermore the moon, when she looks through the night. And nigh to these the Gorgon sisters three, enclothed with wings, and wearing snakes for curls, and man abhorred, there is no mortal gazes in their face, and gazing can breathe on. I speak of such to guard thee from their horror. Ay, and list another tale of a dreadful sight. Beware the griffins, those unbarking dogs of Zeus, those sharp-mouthed dogs in the Arimasapian host, one-eyed, that moves on horseback, habiting beside the river that runs bright with gold, the stream of Pluto. Near them not. Anon thou shalt come to a distant land, a dusky tribe of dwellers at the fountain of the sun, whence flows the river Aethiops. Wind along its banks and turn off at the cataracts, just as the Nile pours from the Bybline hills his holy and sweet wave. His course shall guide thine own to that triangular Nile ground, where Io is ordained for thee and thine, a distant exile. Have I said in this aught darkly or incompletely? Now repeat the question, make the knowledge full. Behold, I have more leisure than I covet here.
If thou canst tell us aught that's left untold, or loosely told of her most dreary flight, declare it straight. But if thou hast uttered all, grant us that latter grace for which we prayed, remembering how we prayed it.
She has heard the fullness of the wandering of her woe, but that she may have knowledge not to have heard all vainly, I will tell what she endured ere coming hither, and invoke the past to prove my prescience true, and so to leave all crowd of jostling words, and pass at once to the first step of thy course, when thou hadst gone to those Molossian plains which sweep around Dodona, shouldering heaven, or at the fane of Zeus, thus Procyon keepeth oracle, and wander past belief. The oaks do wave articulate adjurations, ay, and they did so salute thee, in no phrase perplexed, but clear with glory, noble wife of Zeus, who shouldst be. Here some sweetness took thy sense. Thou didst rush further onward, stung along the ocean shore toward Rhea's mighty bay, and tossed back from it, wert tossed to it again, in stormy evolution, and know well, in coming time, that hollow of the sea shall bear the name Ionian, and present a monument of Io's passage through unto all mortals. These words be the signs of my soul's power to look beyond the veil of visible things. The rest to you and her I will declare in common audience, nymphs. Returning thither where my speech brake off, there is a town, Canobus, built upon the earth's far margin at the mouth of Nile, and on the mound washed up by it. Io, there shall Zeus give back to thee thy perfect mind, and only by the touch and by the stroke of his undreadful hand. And thou shalt bear a dusky son to Zeus, who shall be called thence Epaphus the Touched. That son shall pluck the fruit from all that land wide watered by the flow of flooding Nile, and counting from his life the 5th full generation, which involves full 50 maidens, a fair woman race, shall back to Argos turn reluctantly, to fly the proffered nuptials of their kin, their father's brothers. But they, passion-struck, like falcons bearing hard on flying doves, shall drive on, hunting on that quarry of love. They shall not hunt till envious heaven shall lay a curse betwixt that beauty and their desire, and Greece receive them, to be overcome in murderous woman-war by fierce red hands, round which the night keeps watch. For every wife shall slay her husband, dying deep in blood, the sword of double edges. Now do I wish as fair a marriage joy to all my foes. One bride alone shall fail to smite to death the head upon her pillow, touched with love, and blunted in her purpose, and impelled to choose the lesser evil, and prefer the wearing on her cheeks the coward's shame to blood-guilt on her hands. She shall give birth to a royal race in Argos. Tedious speech were needed to speak clearly, and at large of these things 'tis enough that from this seed shall spring the strong he, famous with the bow, whose arm shall break my fetters off. Behold, my mother Themis, that old Titaness, instructed me in this oracular truth, but how and when I should be long to speak, and thou, in hearing, wouldst not gain at all.
Elelu, Elelu! How the spasm and the pain, and the fire on the brain, strike, burning me through! How the sting of the curse, all aflame as it flew, pricks me onward again! How my heart, in its terror, is spurning my breast, and my eyes, like the wheels of a chariot, roll round. I am whirled from my course, to the east, to the west, in the whirlwind of frenzy all madly enwound. And my mouth is unbridled for anguish and hate, and my words beat in vain, in wild storms of unrest, on the sea of my desolate fate.
Chorus. Strophe.
Oh, wisest of the wise is he, who first within his spirit knew, and with his tongue declared it true, that love comes best, that comes unto the equal of degree, and that the poor and the low should seek no love from those above, whose souls are fluttered with the flow of airs about their golden height, or proud because they see a row ancestral crowns of light.
Antistrophe.
Oh, never, never may ye fates behold me with your awful eyes, lift mine too fondly up the skies, where Zeus upon the purple waits, nor let me step too near to any suitor bright from heaven, because I see, because I fear, this loveless maiden vexed and laden by this fell curse of Hera, driven on wanderings dread and drear.
Epode.
Nay, grant an equal troth instead of nuptial love to bind me by. It will not hurt, I shall not dread to meet it in reply. And let not love from those above pervert and fix me as I said, with that inevitable eye. I have no sword to fight that fight, I have no strength to tread that path. I know not if my nature hath the power to bear. I cannot see whether from Zeus's infinite I can have power to flee.
Yet Zeus, howbeit most absolute of will, shall turn to meekness. Such a marriage rite he holds in preparation, which anon shall thrust him headlong from his garrant seat, and leave no track behind. And so the curse his father Cronos muttered in his fall, as he fell from his ancient throne and cursed, shall be accomplished wholly. No escape from all this ruin shall the filial Zeus have granted to him from one of all his gods, unless I teach it, I the refuge, no, and I the means. Now therefore let him sit and brave the imminent doom, and fix his faith on his supernal noises, hurtling on with the restless hand the bolt that breathes out fire. For these things shall not help him, none of them, nor hinder his perdition when he falls to shame, and lower than patience. Such a foe he doth himself prepare against himself, a wonder of unconquerable hate, a new deviser of a nobler fire than shines in lightnings, and of grander sound than aught the thunder rolls, out-thundering it, of power to shatter in Poseidon's fist the trident spear, which, while it plagues the sea, doth shake the shores around it. Ay, and Zeus, by this destruction, lost, shall meet at length the gulf which severs rule from servitude.
Thou makest threats for Zeus of thy desires.
I tell you, all these things shall be fulfilled, as also I desire them.
Must we, then, look out for one to come, to master Zeus?
These chains weigh lighter than his sorrows shall.
How art thou not afraid to speak such words?
What should I fear, who cannot die?
But he can visit thee with dreader woe than death.
Why, let him do it. I am here, prepared for all things and their pangs.
The wise are they who reverence Adrastea.
Reverence thou, adore thou, flatter thou, whomever reigns, whenever reigning. But for me, your Zeus is less than nothing. Let him act and reign his brief hour out according to his will. He will not, therefore, rule the gods too long. But lo, I see that courier god of Zeus, that new-made menial of the new-crowned king. He doubtless comes to tell us something new.
End of part 4. Part 5 of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Hermes enters. I speak to thee, that sophist, speaker down of scorn by scorn, that sinner against gods, that reverencer of men, that thief of fire. I speak to and adjure thee. Zeus commands thy declaration of what marriage rite is this to move thy vaunt and cause his fall from absolute rule. And do not wrap thy speech in riddles, but speak clearly. Do not cast ambiguous paths, Prometheus, for my feet, since Zeus, thou mayst perceive, is scarcely won to mercy by such means.
A speech well-mouthed in the utterance, and full-minded in the sense, as doth befit a servant of the gods. New gods, ye newly reign, and think, forsooth, ye dwell in towers too high for any dart to take a wound there. Have I not stood by while 2 kings fell from thence? And shall I not behold the third, the same who rules you now, fall shamed to sudden ruin? Do I seem to tremble and quail before your modern gods? I cast the thought off far. For thee, depart, retread thy steps in haste. To all so asked I answer nothing.
'Twas this wind of pride that took thee of yore full sail upon these rocks.
I would not barter. Learn thou soothly that, by suffering for thy service. For I hold it is a nobler thing to serve this rock than live a faithful slave to Father Zeus. And thus on scorners I retort their scorn.
It seems that thou dost glory in thy despair.
I glory? Would my foes did glory so, and I stood by to see? In naming them, thou art not unremembered.
Dost thou charge me also with the blame of any grief?
I tell thee, I loathe the universal gods, who for the good I gave them rendered back the ill of their injustice.
Thou art mad. I hear thee raving, Titan, at the full.
If it be madness to abhor my foes, may I be mad.
If thou wert prosperous, thou wouldst be unendurable.
Alas,
Zeus knows not that word.
but maturing time doth teach all things.
Howbeit thou hast not learnt the wisdom yet thou needest.
If I had, I should not talk thus with a slave like thee.
Thou dost vouchsafe no answer, as I think, to the great sire's requirements.
Verily, I owe him grateful service, and should pay it.
Why, thou dost mock me, Titan, as I stood a child before thy face.
No child, forsooth, but yet more foolish than a foolish child, if thou expect that I should answer aught thy Zeus can ask. No torture from his hand, nor any machination in the world, shall force mine utterance, ere he loose himself these cankerous fetters from me. For the rest, let him now hurl his blenching lightnings down, and with his white-winged snows and mutterings deep of subterranean thunders mix all things, confound them in disorder. None of this shall bend my sturdy will, and make me speak the name of his dethroner who shall come.
Can this avail thee? Look to it.
Long ago it was looked forward to, pre-counselled of.
Vain god, take righteous courage. Dare for once to apprehend and front thine agonies with a just prudence.
Vainly dost thou chafe my soul with exhortation, as the sea goes beating on the rock. Oh, think no more that I, fear struck by Zeus to a woman's mind, will supplicate him loath as he is, with womanly upliftings of my hands, to break these chains. Far from me be the thoughts.
I have indeed, methinks, said much in vain, for still thy heart, beneath my shower of prayers, lies dry and hard. Nay, leaps like a young horse who bites against the new bit in his teeth, and tugs and struggles against the new tried rein. Still fiercest in the weakest thing of all, which sophism is, for absolute will alone, when left to its motions in perverted minds, is worse than null for strength. Behold and see, unless my words persuade thee, what a blast and whirlwind of inevitable woe must sweep persuasion through thee. For at first the Father will split up this jut of rock with the great thunder and the bolted flame, and hide thy body where the hinge of stone shall catch it like an arm, and when thou hast passed a long black time within, thou shalt come out to front the sun. And Zeus's winged hound, the strong carnivorous eagle, shall wheel down to meet thee, self-called to a daily feast, and set his fierce beak in thee, and tear off the long rags of thy flesh, and batten deep upon thy dusky liver. Do not look for any end, moreover, to this curse, or ere some god appear, to bear thy pangs on his own head vicarious, and descend with unreluctant steps the darks of hell, and the deep glooms enringing Tartarus. Then ponder this. The threat is not a growth of vain invention. It is spoken and meant. For Zeus's mouth is impotent to lie, and doth complete the utterance in the act. So look to it, thou. Take heed, and never more forget good counsel, to indulge self-will.
This Hermes suits his reasons to the times. At least I think so, since he bids thee drop self-will for prudent counsel. Yield to him. When the wise err, their wisdom proves their shame.
Unto me the foreknower, this mandate of power, he cries to reveal it, and scarce strange in my fate if I suffer from hate at the hour that I feel it. Let the locks of the lightning, all bristling and whitening, flash, coiling me round, while the ether goes surging 'neath thunder and scourging of wild winds unbound. Let the blast of the firmament whirl from its place the earth rooted below, and the brine of the ocean, in rapid emotion, be it driven in the face of the stars up in heaven as they walk to and fro. Let him hurl me anon into Tartarus, onto the blackest degree, with necessity's vortices strangling me down. But he cannot join death to a fate meant for me.
Why, the words that he speaks and the thoughts that he thinks are maniacal, sad. And if fate, who hath bound him, just loosens the links, yet he's nigh to be mad. Then depart ye who groan with him, leaving to moan with him. Go in haste, lest the roar of the thunder, in nearing, should blast you to idiocy, living and hearing.
Change thy speech for another, thy thought for a new, if to move me and teach me indeed be thy care. For thy words swerve so far from the loyal and true, that the thunder of Zeus seems more easy to bear. How couldst teach me to venture such vileness, behold, I choose with this victim this anguish foretold. For I turn from the traitor and hate and disdain, and I know that the curse of the treason is worse than the pang of the chain.
Then remember, O nymphs, what I utter before. Nor, when pierced by the arrows that Ate will throw you, cast the blame on your fate, and declare evermore that Zeus thrust you on anguish he did not foreshow you. Nay, verily, nay, for ye perish anon for your deed, by your choice, by no blindness of doubt, no abruptness of doom, but by madness alone, in the great net of Ate, whence none cometh out, ye are wound and undone.
Ay, in act now, in word, now no more. Earth is rocking in space, and the thunders crash up with a roar upon roar, and red eddies of lightning flash fires in my face, and the whirlwinds are whirling the dust round and round, and the blasts of the winds universal leap free, and blow each upon each with a passion of sound, and ether goes mingling in storm with the sea. Such a curse on my head, and a manifest dread from the hand of your Zeus has been hurtled along. O my father's fair glory, O ether enringing all eyes with the sweet common light of thy bringing, dost thou see how I suffer this wrong?
End of part 5. End of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Elizabeth Barrett Browning.